And we are going. So, hello, welcome everyone to the first in a series of 3 breakthrough webinars. I'm excited. We've got Terryann coming back to the UK in June 2020. And so we're doing a series of webinars, not only to introduce you to Terryann and into Breakthrough, but also to, just help and support everybody. Even if you can't come to the class, you will get something out of these webinars, guaranteed. So we've got a lot of topics that we can dive into. We've done a lot of webinars over the years, so we've got quite a few already recorded. So if you want to find out where they are, drop me an email. But please share these videos with your friends and family, anyone who'd be interested in this kind of work. So today I have Terryann with me. Terryann, do you want to introduce yourself? I mean, partly everyone knows who I am, but you're the star here, so...
And actually a stranger, is that it? Well, I'm the only at present breakthrough instructor that's been teaching. So Esther
Yes.
created Breakthrough. She's the founder. So she will actually be teaching in South Africa. And that's going to be great to encourage our matrix. And so I've been doing this solo for a while, solo flying. And it's not easy to be carrying the whole thing. So,
but you're doing a brilliant job.
Oh, thank you, darlings.
But I'm excited because you're so being the only breakthrough instructor, you're so busy that for us to get you in the UK is a miracle.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it is. It has been busy, and just doing this work, I think, is probably what I could say is my greatest history, is doing this even from a child. Of course, I do other things. I do body talk, and I've done Reiki. I've taught my own courses. I have my own version of tarot that I do, and have a particular way of teaching it that is a little bit out of the ordinary. Not everyone does it that way. I became breakthrough instructor in 2006, and I became senior instructor. I can't even remember when, but quite a few years back. So going around the world passionately and working with individuals, I cannot tell you how beautiful it is to do this work with someone and watch a life of contraction, crying, sometimes volatility, sometimes screaming, sometimes just miserable, transforming. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's one session, but like anything, there's nothing that's just one session. But through, not too much effort. It doesn't take that much effort. Just to be on, do the work, and then watch your life change. And that's kind of segueing into what I wanted to work with tonight was responsibility and freedom, basically. And we don't often put those two words together. We usually see responsibility or connotations for responsibility. Now, some of you might disagree. You might know the actual definition and be really happy about the word responsibility. That's great. Kudos to you. But so many of us see responsibility as something of a burden, of an obligation, of a duty, of a have to, I must, I have to. If I don't do it, who else is going to do it? Shoulds, should nots, all these things come up for people. So when they look at taking responsibility in their lives, they don't see the freedom. So what we do in Breakthrough is make lists. So we're not doing that tonight. But I think we should.
Post-its are hard and on Zoom. We'll work that out for next time.
It's actually not that hard. We just don't have as many people engaging.
Yeah.
But I suppose if we do it, all four of us, are we four together or more?
Well, we can do it in the chat. The only thing is we have to read it all out.
They can't see it?
They can, no, I meant they can see the chat, but the recording won't have the chat on it.
Yeah, well, the recording actually downloads the chat with it.
Yeah, but then
So
people won't necessarily read it. So we'll have to read it out if you want to do the...
Well, there are also, so whoever's listening to this without being on our group session, all you need to do is write the words down as they come up, just so you can see what's going on. So responsibility. So I brought up a few connotations for responsibility already. And one of them is burden, right?
Yeah.
Obligation, duty, shoulds, should nots. So everyone join in and just give your connotations for responsibility.
Yeah, add to the list. Type it into the chat to everybody. Keep it simple.
And if you could keep it in uppercase. So they're going to be a little slow because they're not so familiar and we're not doing this verbally, right? We need everybody to be on to do this. So Eloise, you join in. What else does responsibility mean to you?
So it just feels heavy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like endless is a word that pops in my head. Oh, Eugenie's saying shoulder. So those burdens. Monotonous as well. Anyone got anything else?
So we're not doing this properly because
No.
I'm not supposed to be giving them, but one of the big ones that a lot of people come up with is guilt.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people equate responsibility with guilt, or if I take responsibility then, and they equate it to, then I am to blame.
Yeah. Because if
it's my fault.
Yeah, I was about to say, if I'm responsible for something, it's my fault if it goes wrong. Or if I don't manage to juggle that plate. Yeah.
It's so often the first thing, right? Oh my God, I'm responsible, so it's my fault. I did it wrong. Blah blah blah, right?
Mm.
As if you can do things right 100% of the time.
All the time.
Right? Yeah. So you can see that this list, this tiny list that we have, is not actually the definition of responsibility. So does anyone know the definition of responsibility? I can act, exactly. The ability to respond is the definition, but that's right.
Yeah.
I can act, yeah? It's the ability to act. So it's so different from guilt or obligation, right? Any of those things. So some of the definitions we could have come up with are something like adventure, freedom, right? So the moment I'm able to respond to life, so does anyone sense what that would be like, what that experience would be like if you could respond all the time to life? I mean, I think we're all women on here, and a lot of women will often say, I don't speak up. Does anyone relate to that? Maybe you could put I don't know, can you wave?
Yeah, you can put your can you put your hands up? No, we can't here.
Does anyone relate to?
Just say yes.
No, but I could find another example. No, so Eugenie doesn't, so.
Yeah. Don't speak up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that could be, it's a big one from my generation. I don't speak up. I don't say what I want. I don't ask for what I want. I'm trying to think of things that are having the ability to respond. So, what often triggers you, Jenny?
We're going to have the moments while everyone's typing.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll have to figure out a way to do this differently, because semi-interaction doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
You know, you and I can kind of talk about, you know, when we're triggered, right? Something triggers us. Something presses our button. That button goes down. Boom! We explode inside. Implode. Some people speak externally. Some people keep it in. That's just implosion, explosion. But basically, there's something that goes on inside. That's where the wound is catalyzed, right? By some external force. And we believe the force is on the outside.
Yeah.
Right? You think, oh my God, you know, that person did something wrong. So what did you, Jenny, say? I like
Eugenie said, she's translating through 2 languages.
Yeah, that's fine. I get it.
I like to take
responsibility, but I understand that my husband has a very different view of responsibility. So, okay, well, we can't really talk about your husband because he's not here. So
yeah,
that'll only be your interpretation of your husband. It's more what we're just talking about, being triggered. And does anyone not know what being triggered is? No, you seem to all know what being triggered is. So someone
to something, yeah. Oh, Eugenie doesn't.
What did you say?
Eugenie says she doesn't know what being triggered is. We may have to interpret it.
You don't know what being triggered is? Okay, so, it's not coming up here. So when someone pushes a button, and you could implode or explode.
So you're reacting to something.
You're overreacting.
We
would never work with a reaction.
No.
Reactions are fine. So we'd have to sit and explore what an overreaction is a little bit, but we're not going to do that today.
No.
Today we just want to look at those moments we don't take responsibility, which limits the possibilities in life, and we just go through this blame victim type of behavior. So Eugenie, you obviously see that responsibility is something you like. So it offers you freedom, doesn't it, when you take responsibility?
Yeah. Because when you were talking about being able to respond to something, if I have the freedom to be able to respond to everything that's happening to me in the moment, that feels quite blissful to me. It's like I don't have any worries, I don't have any cares, I'm just, hey, I can respond to that and I can respond to that.
So can you put in your own words when you're unable to respond to something? Would you put in your own words?
Yeah. So there could be various things. Either I'm triggered and I don't want to look at it. I'm like, I'll leave that for later. Because I might have so much going on at the moment, I can't give something that's needing more attention till later. Or it normally feels like I'm so busy responding to other things that there isn't the space.
There isn't the space to what?
To respond.
I'm confused.
So if I'm busy doing stuff, if I'm busy at work and I'm busy doing clinic and suddenly the phone rings and it's about the birds in my attic or something, I can't always drop what I'm doing to respond to that, not only because I'm busy, but because if I go and do that, then I'm going to get
but
triggered.
that's not what I meant. Sorry. I probably wasn't clear with my question. So, all right. So when we have the ability to respond, it means there's no holds barred. It means there's nothing that ever restricts. I mean, obviously beyond physical limitation, etc. Nothing will restrict me. I don't like using this way because we're not really exploring what's going on, but it's the best way to kind of discuss something, I guess. This isn't the breakthrough way, so I'm not very comfortable with it, but I'll try my best. Let's say you have the ability to respond 100% of the time. And I'm not talking about, physical limitation. I'm not talking about you're held at gunpoint, right? You still have the ability to respond when you're held at gunpoint, and you have many, many options, right? The ability to respond really gives you all those options, right? And of course that's just freedom. So now we know that. Okay, so who cares?
Yeah.
Really, who cares about what I'm talking about right now? It's like, well, that's great. That's what I'll do. But we can't have recipes for living. The moment you have a recipe for living, that means you're going to use that as an expectation, which means you are no longer responsible. You are making the list of expectations your boss. You're making it the menu or the recipe for living, and that's not how we live. So there's no real ability to just say, okay, if I know the definition of responsibility, that's exactly what's going to happen. No, you have something beyond that, which is, if we do the quick view of childhood, from 0 to 4 years old, we're undifferentiated consciousness. Okay, so the moment we hit 4, let's say, I don't think it's that precise, the consciousness becomes differentiated. So everything before 4 years old goes into us because we can't differentiate. So we call those the identities, like I'm stupid, or I'm smart, or I'm ugly, or I'm this, or I'm not. All those identities go in us. If you just think about this for a few minutes, it doesn't take long to think about it, and just go, okay, so notwithstanding whether we know this is true or not, if you read Piaget, you'll see that, okay, the child's consciousness is completely open, everything goes in, and that's where our identities go in. All right, fine. Now, once we hit 4, we can now close off the consciousness. We don't do that consciously, it just happens. And every time somebody intimates that, let's say, you're stupid, then they're going to be triggered because the button goes right down to the identity. I mean, ultimately, our identities are challenged. We don't like it when our identities are challenged. That's basically a trigger and a triggering moment. The moment you, let's say, someone's image, someone's intellect, what's the easiest way to insult a woman?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, well, anybody, I don't know. The easiest way to insult a woman.
So she's not capable?
And is that, or you're too emotional, you're too sensitive?
Oh yeah, too emotional.
You're crazy.
Good one. You're crazy, yay.
You're crazy. Yeah, insult a woman's intellect, and usually you hit her below the belt when it's really up here. And what's the easiest way to insult a man?
Anyone want to join in? Feel free to write in the chat.
The simplest way to cut a man down. It's so easy to cut him down.
Well, I was going to say castrate him, but that's a bit.
But yeah, talk about his sexuality. Through his sexuality, you have a small ding dong or whatever. Yeah, It's the way it is. That's how easy it is for us to get at each other. We get triggered right away. But if you don't have an identity that says I'm an emotional, sensitive woman and I look crazy and I'm trying to get 50 degrees so I look smart, but still men think I'm emotional, or anybody does for that matter, you'll be triggered, right? Or for men, if he's insecure in his masculinity, well, he's going to be triggered. Those are just two simple ones.
Yeah.
But any image you challenge someone's intellect, we could just be talking here. And who knows what's going on with Eugenie, Terryann, and Miriam. They could be triggered by what we're saying. I don't like what you're saying. It's stupid what you're saying. I don't like the layout. You guys aren't doing this well. I mean, there could be a million things. Obviously, you can tell what my triggers are, right? Like, oh, we didn't
Terryann
do this right.
shouldn't wear glasses.
Oh dear. Okay.
No.
Right. You can be triggered by anything. You can be, and it's so true. You can be triggered by someone's hair. You can be triggered by even in body talk. When you think of John Veltheim, one of the things he mentions is when you do a video, be careful what's behind you.
Yeah.
Even people can be reading your books, and if they don't like them, they don't like you. They don't like this
Circles.
Whatever it is, they might not like me. You might not like my crazy top my Floridian top. You might not like that my hair's not done up for a 60-year-old woman, there's so many things that can trigger someone. Oh yeah, and people say it's very superficial, but no, it's not. Anything to do with identity is pretty superficial. But remember, the identity is the wound, so we need to have compassion for the wound, but definitely when our identities are challenged. No matter what, the positive identity, the negative identity, either of them, you ever compliment someone and they just can't take a compliment. Mm-hmm. Well, they're triggered. They can't receive the compliment. You could insult someone without even knowing you insulted them.
Yeah.
You have no clue that you've insulted them. One of the interesting things that I found fascinating becoming, instructor of BreakThrough, then becoming senior instructor, I was treated differently on each level. So at each time I changed, I was treated differently by people. So weird, right? Or I'm sure you can relate to this, Eloise. You leave the country, you go to another country, you're treated completely differently as an instructor than you are treated at home.
Yes.
What is all that, right? It's just
weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
I'm the same person, just in a different place.
But you can imagine there are people triggered that they are not treated as Professor so-and-so, or how many movies we've seen where movie stars say they want to disappear and not be recognized. Yeah, I'd like to see if they were not recognized for a year, how that would impact them. I'm not saying each person would do that. Some people might go, thank God, it's so freeing not to be recognized. But I'm sure it would trigger a lot of people not to be recognized. A lot of their identity is based on, this reception.
Recognition, yeah,
a recognition. So just some ideas to mull through so you can think about your own triggers, what triggers you, and if you really just sit for a moment, you'll realize, oh, what triggers me is something that really is part of my identity, right? Though we do have belief systems around the identity, and those are the defenses that defend our identity. So how dare she use the dinner fork instead of the salad fork, right? I don't know if you can relate to that.
Yeah. Use the wrong bread plate at the table.
Well, there are people who are triggered by that, who let's say they have you to dinner and you don't eat properly, and you don't eat politely. They'll be triggered. They'll feel disrespected. They'll feel as though you've done something wrong without even knowing that maybe you don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you've just never been educated that way. right? Or you're doing it on purpose. I've seen people do it on purpose to offend. I think Hair is a good example. Hair was, an iconic film that,
Oh, right, yeah.
yeah, when I was young, that film was, oh my God, we're breaking the status quo and, blasting down all of the bastions of rigidity and confines of, cultural mores that keep us in limitation. Well, that group, the hippies, went into the house in Hair and they destroyed it. Today I look at it and go, wow, I dare those people now to try and go to a hippie commune and start ripping apart their macrame, taking apart their guitars, and they would have you jailed in a second.
Yeah.
So just about belief systems, everyone's got this rigid view of all these beliefs that keep them safe from seeing the identity they don't want to see within themselves. So if you somehow incorporated unconsciously that I am the identity, I am stupid, you may surround yourself with books and PhDs, and you almost hibernate in this environment of intelligentsia and intellect. And the moment someone seeps through, like a 5-year-old, and asks you a question and you can't answer, your life can come tumbling down, right? And that's what we do in BreakThrough, is ask those questions we've never asked before, and be able to kind of get those. You're looking at the belief systems and you're seeing your own mind. And when you see your own mind, of course, you see the hypocrisy, the paradoxes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever listen. Well, I'm sure you've listened to tons of conversations. I listened to one conversation the other day, and the girl, she didn't know she said this. She said, oh, this guy that I'm really in love with and, want to sleep with, I see as a father figure. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Not realizing you're saying you want to sleep with your father, right? And of course,
option.
And saying it, clarifying it, really, you want to sleep with your father, is that it?
Yeah.
Or even a father figure, that's kind of bizarre. And they'll go, oh my God, I didn't realize I said that.
Yeah.
And what's kind of is just keep asking questions till you clarify your paradox. You clarify all the contradictions.
It's like you slip up at some point, and if you watch yourself, we always call it spotting the lie. When you see those paradoxes or the untruth.
Yeah, well, they are clearly, they're clearly recipes. Right?
Yeah.
So we put the recipe together, and it's unlike a recipe, you're going to put in all the appropriate things that will make a bread or a cake or your souffle. But we've got a recipe for life, and in that recipe, there are things that don't fit, but we've made them fit.
Shoved a shoe in.
Shoved a shoe in, I suppose.
I don't know.
Right? So we can make things fit, like oh gosh, I'm not coming up with something. I'm stuck on the.
Yeah.
I see him as a father figure, and I'm in love with him.
We could shove something in.
How do those two things fit together? Like, how do you fit them together in your mind without thinking I've met someone who I want to see as a father figure and I want to have sex with him? That's clear, and if you're okay with it, there's no problem. But if you're looking for a father figure and you want to have sex with him, well, you're looking for two things, right? And now you're incorporating that in one. So the recipes are rather, they're paradoxical.
Yeah.
Can anyone think of two ideas you have that live together but don't belong together? Just two ideas, two belief systems. I should eat right as you're, downing,
Yeah.
a Gatorade or something.
Yeah, I should get up early and exercise versus snoozing the alarm clock.
Yeah. But I'm looking more for hypocrisy. Like that I should get up and exercise and I don't. Okay, but that, let's say I'm dictating to you, Eloise, you should exercise. It's really good for you. You should be exercising and
You're lying in your pajamas.
And well, that doesn't work either. No, the only one that I think works.
I do play devil's advocate.
Yeah, the only one that really works is I eat really healthy and you're eating a chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens then? It's like, yeah, but you're eating a chocolate bar. Oh, but I don't do this very often. So we have all these
justify. Yeah.
And I, as practitioners, we hear these crazy paradoxes all the time. I ask someone how they eat. What's their diet like? And the response is, I eat healthy. And I usually say, more specific, please. I don't know what healthy is to you. And oftentimes it's horrible. It's just a horrible, horrible diet.
I'm living on Monster Munch.
Pardon me?
They're living on Monster Munch crisps. They're the worst.
There's something in the UK, obviously, that we don't have.
Yeah, sorry. It didn't work internationally.
No, not necessarily.
Cheetos? I don't know. What do you have? Anyway.
What was that?
Cheetos.
Right. That's American.
Oh, okay.
I'm Canadian.
I know. I'm trying. Eugenie says, I want to help people. I also think I cannot help people because it's their own life.
There you go. That's really tough, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge bunch of recipes that you can't even decipher. So your mind has gone completely awry. And then do you find yourself in a deadlock, Eugenie? Like you kind of get to, you can't do anything. So I'd like to help people, but I can't because they got to help themselves.
Yeah.
So then you just don't do anything.
Yeah. I was going to say, just for a moment, I have to say, coming to BreakThrough was one of, I think, a turning point for me in clinic, being able to understand and talk with my clients and notice when they're doing these things and the defenses are coming up and they're justifying, and really helpful if you're a therapist.
Okay, that's really, really interesting, Eloise.
Yeah.
That you noticed they were doing it. Is that the big news to you? That was your big news?
Not so. I didn't see it before.
Yes, that's what I mean. You didn't see it. So that's pretty amazing because some people will be different. I could see it all the time.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy not being able to help them. You see all these, oh my God, you realize that you said one thing, now you're saying another. And then the moment, and it's like a slippery fish, right? The minute you would catch something and you say, okay, you're saying this. Yes, I am. But over here in this other basket, it's like, no, we're going to deal with only what's in one basket, right? And that is one of the brilliant things about BreakThrough is we work with one story. So we're really working with only one fish in one basket. Because the moment you deal with a person's entire life, they're just a slippery fish all over the place. They jump, and they never get anywhere because they're completely stuck in the defense mechanisms. Does anyone know what defense mechanisms are? Or what defenses are? Yeah, something like denial, let's say. Evasion, lying, betrayal,
contradicting,
sneakiness,
sneaky.
All the defenses are comprised of those particular behaviors, let's say. So you can have a ton of different behaviors, though there is a dynamic to a defense, right? Not listening there, that's a good one. Yes, you, Jenny, that's a good one. Not listening is a massive defense. And then there are the dynamics to defensiveness. So this is work we would do in class, is to really look at conflict, because breakthrough is a shift in perspective on conflict. So what does that mean? Well, we perceive a conflict in one particular way. The moment you're able to shift perspective, you're able to take practical action. I know that's quite a jump, but the moment you see something differently. So for example, you meet up with a neighbor on the street and you say, well, hello, Stanley. And Stanley rushes by you, bumps you, grunts, and runs away. And you think, wow, that's so rude, he's so awful. And you go through a slew of judgments about Stanley. Then later on, you go back to your, let's say, apartment building. Stanley's there and says, I would like to apologize to you, but my child was in a critical car accident and I was rushing off to go get my child. Right away, our perspective shifts. We're like, oh my God, what did I think about him? I was totally wrong. Poor guy, he was just blinded and in intense fear and ran off to help his child, right? You could look at someone in traffic and see them going up on the sidewalk and driving along. And our first thought is, oh, how dare they, break the law. Or, I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah.
You could have
rushing to hospital.
Yeah, could be rushing to hospital, could be anything. Or they could be breaking the law.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah.
Well, any trigger can come at any time. You could think, hey, maybe they're in danger and that's why they're running, or something really bad is happening. So you're like really calm. Then later on, you read on the news, they had just robbed a poor little old lady, and then you're triggered, right? Right? So
I should have stopped them. Yeah.
And of course, the stories I'm giving you don't necessarily have to trigger you. You have your own triggers. I'm just eliciting possible catalysts, right? But the shift in perspective allows you to respond in a different way, which is the ability to respond. And what limits our ability to respond? So I'm just going to ask myself questions and talk to myself instead of talking to all of you, but you can interject.
You can type in if you want.
What stops me from having the ability to respond? Well, when I think of responsibility and I am triggered and I think the other person is manipulating me, would my first thought be, I'm the one manipulating the other person? Likely not. Most people are in victim blame. They're the victims. We're the victim of the outside world. We could blame the outside world, or we also blame ourselves, but we still victimize ourselves anyway. So you could be an outside blamer. Outside blamer. So it varies at different points in life as well. It doesn't mean you're always blaming yourself in equal proportions as you're blaming the other, nor is it consistent, right? These things are constantly varying. But I can find in one single story, I'm blaming the other person and myself. Right? So the moment we're left in this place of blame, is there any indication of responsibility anywhere?
No.
No, the place you're coming from. Breakthrough really looks at the place you're coming from. If the place you're coming from is a wound, well, you're going to react from that wound. If the place you're coming from is blame, well, you're going to blame. If the place you're coming from is guilt, you're going to feel guilty. So ultimately, we have to take responsibility for what's really going on. Usually we say, yeah, but I'm so angry. I'm so sad. Oh, woe is me. I'm so sad.
Oh, why does this keep happening to me?
Right, and it's why does Joe keep doing this to me and blah blah, it's his fault and he's an abuser, and let's get all the women in the women's march to show up in my house and I'll show you what an abuser my husband is, etc., etc. Then you do a breakthrough and she's like, oh, he's never abusing me.
Yeah.
I'm making a little joke here, but I'm serious.
Yeah.
I've had women tell me how abusive their husbands are, that they have gotten groups together to, deal with the
Wow.
husband. And we do a few breakthroughs, a month or two of breakthroughs, and they're like, oh my God, it's all me. That he never did anything. Actually, he loves me. Actually, he's been so patient with me. Actually, he's been so kind to me. Then you have to deal with the guilt that they feel, but hopefully
There's more work.
another breakthrough. But it's fascinating, right? Just absolutely fascinating. The depth of how we will defend a position just to make sure that we are absolved, but we aren't. It's not working, right? So if we say, no, I'm blaming the other, okay. If that was a technique, if any of you guys on here said, Terryann, but it's a technique. If I blame men, if I blame women, if I blame dogs, if I blame cats, my life is working. Like, good luck to you. That's
always
great.
The cat's fault. Yeah.
But I've never encountered anyone who said that blaming someone else actually did them good. Though that's not to say that in a moment when you're triggered and you're having an overreaction and you're going through your defense mechanisms, you might turn around and have that moment where you feel like you've gotten revenge on the other person, like you're having an argument with your husband.
I've won.
I'm winning.
I'm winning.
You could have joy, and then a second later he responds, and you're like, oh, damn, lost again. So no matter how much you blame and you push it on the other person, it doesn't work. And then, so a lot of people say, well, then the alternative is I'll blame myself. That's the responsible thing to do. Well, definitely not. That's completely irresponsible.
Yeah.
You're taking responsibility for your actions. Of course, you must do that, but you can't just say blaming myself is going to work out. Just think about it. How's that working for you? I blamed myself my entire life. That would be
exhausting.
I thought it was going to work at some point. It was really a failure of a system. Let's call it system, 1.0.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And thinking that eventually if I dump all of this on me and I blame myself thinking I'm going to be responsible for it all, that the world is going to change. And no, until I realized, oh my God, the buck stops here. I think I was like 15 or 16 years old. I was 15 when I realized, yeah, the buck stops here. Okay, so now I have to take responsibility, not blame anyone anymore. It's not my parents' fault. It's not their parents' fault. It's not my genetics fault. There's no fault here. I take responsibility for myself, warts and all, and then move on from there.
Yeah.
Then it got interesting. I couldn't figure out how to stop the mind from thinking, right? And that took another 45 years to break that spell.
Yeah. Don't worry, you don't have to be over 60 for this to help.
I'm not over 60. Come on.
Teasing.
Great. No, the people who've come before.
It's a defense.
The people who've come before likely are the ones, hopefully,
well,
who are supporting, like the ripple in the pond.
Yeah.
I believe
I was going to say, because you've done all this work, it's just easier hanging out with you and doing this work with you. You get there faster.
I think so. Or I don't know how that goes, quite frankly. Like, are the people that are working with me right now, it's really incredible. It's so, like, oh my God, it's such beautiful work. Everyone's, basically sitting behind their computers. We have no video on. I just ask the questions, and then they come to their, okay.
Yeah.
And they see their lives changing. And a lot of that, it used to be a lot harder. Of course, breakthrough was a little bit different in the past, but not that much.
Yeah.
That it was my own personal journey not to be so hard on myself. That took a lot, not to be so hard on myself.
Yeah. But once you get there, so much easier.
Once you get, well, all
There's
of that,
freedom.
I suppose you could say it's easier, but that's not my favorite. I don't look for ease necessarily. I look for, can I solve this problem that showed up now? Okay, here's a new one. Let's solve it. Let's work with it. That's it. There's no, oh my God, can I do it? Can I, all this other crap that used to come up, all these other thoughts. Now there are no thoughts. It's just using the mind for what it was designed for. So you use it to figure something out. Like even during this whole work we've done it so backwards to what I'm used to. My mind had to work out, how am I going to do this part? How am I going to do that? So we're a little bit haphazard here. Maybe it'll be enjoyable. We don't know yet. We'll find out.
Yeah, give us marks out of 10.
Was it enjoyable to listen to us banter about something? Because breakthrough really is about yourself. So you're looking at yourself all the time. So having me talking about breakthrough doesn't necessarily have the impact, I think, as it does when you're actually doing the work. You sit down and you really are honest with yourself and say, okay, what does responsibility mean to me? And for example, that was the example we used today, but we worked through several lists to begin to see how the mind operates. And that's pretty important. So we've got this idea that we're wounded as children, and you can't figure out how those wounds came in. Like a lot of parents will say to me, well, how can I prevent wounding my child? Well, let's go from here. You can't, because that presumes your child is a tabula rasa, and the child is not a tabula rasa.
What's a tabula rasa?
Tabula rasa, blank slate.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's a blank slate. No, it's not. The child comes in with its own DNA, its own personal essence. Most parents will testify, I won't say 100% because I haven't met every parent in the world, that each child that is born, they're different.
Yeah.
They're different. They're not the same.
From before they can speak. It's weird.
Yes, pre-verbal. They are different.
Yeah.
They're just different in the way they do things, the way they, they're not just these little, puppets where you're looking at, different children from around the world. You can see all the similarities. I can go to Asia, I can go to India, I can go to Mexico, I can go to South America, I can go to Canada. Every baby has this particular series of things they go through. But still, you can see that difference. You can see some things different in their personality. They don't sleep the same number of hours. They don't act the same way. I know for my mom, I slept.
Yeah.
I was the good baby. Yeah, the good baby. It's not a good baby. It's just good for you.
Yeah.
You
behave.
Being good or bad. It's just the baby's temperament. And then the next baby was crying. Right? I saw my nephews. First baby was like, oh my God, angelic, sweet. And then the next baby, screaming for your what do they call the timbre? What is it called? The
eardrum.
Eardrum. Thank you. I don't know why my head went to French. The tambour it would vibrate. It was not nice at all. But that's not whether the kid is good or bad. It's just a different kid. That's it. Now ask who triggered who.
Yeah. Did the baby scream trigger you?
Yeah. And I just because we're not going through this full list. Maybe we'll do that next time, is the list on reaction over reaction. But we need to be very careful in defining the difference between, you could hear a loud noise and it could catalyze you. You could have a reaction, right? So it's not like you're going to love a loud noise. You could have a reaction and go, please turn that down, right? That is a reaction. An overreaction is very, very different.
Yeah.
An overreaction has a lot of belief systems, like you shouldn't play loud music, it's wrong, you're bad, it's disrespectful. That's a whole other ballgame. That's when you're overreacting. Now, that's the simplest definition I'll give, but we could, next time set it up so we could make a list on reaction, overreaction, so we get to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
So many people just think, oh, you're triggered, somebody, yells or something, right? If you go to a Greek home and, somebody's yelling, it doesn't mean anyone's triggered. It might trigger
normal.
a stranger, but I remember when I was young, my best friend came to our house and she was like, why is everybody mad at each other? I said, no, but everybody's yelling. I was like, oh, no, we're just Greek. Then I went to her house and everyone was
really quiet. Yeah.
We're silent. And I was just like terrified. I just wanted to pee myself. And I looked at her and go, why is everybody angry? She said, no one's angry. Nobody's talking to each other. In our house, if you don't talk to each other, you're angry. Right? So, yeah,
funny,
definitely, isn't it? That triggered something, but her explanation obviously, cleared up, the curiosity.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, I shouldn't say that. The silence would trigger me because it meant to me that you were angry with me. So that traveled through every single one of my relationships.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yeah. So let's say you and I are hanging out together, Eloise, or I'm staying at your place and you don't talk to me. I would be triggered thinking I must have done something wrong. It could be with anybody. So that meant my boyfriends. It meant my friends. If they didn't talk to me, it meant they were angry with me.
Yeah.
So this is what I was talking about. I think I came to finally a really good example of freedom. Can you imagine what it's like to be free of that? I mean, that controlled my life.
Yeah.
My radar, so this is the shifting perspective on conflict. So anytime somebody wasn't talking to me, my perspective only saw you're mad at me, you're mad at me. The moment you go through a breakthrough and see that your beliefs are completely like a big recipe that doesn't even work, it just unravels, then you look and you go, they're just not talking to me.
Yeah.
Like that's all that's happening. There is no they're angry or, it just doesn't even exist. So there's the freedom.
Beautiful.
And you cannot do a breakthrough without taking responsibility for your own part in the story.
Yeah, such a powerful piece of the process.
It really is. We don't even, it's so powerful that if someone cannot take responsibility for their own behavior, we don't continue.
Yeah.
So in Breakthrough, there are 7 steps. And taking responsibility is step 3. So we got a story, we isolate what triggered the person, because you could have a story and you could have many triggers.
Yeah.
Right?
You pick one.
So we isolate the trigger, then we find the emotion, then we take responsibility for our behavior. So let's say we say we're afraid. Well, we need to take responsibility for acting cowardly. Something, it'll depend on the story, of course.
Yeah.
And then we look at our beliefs. all the paradoxical beliefs, then we come out with an identity. Then there are a few more steps that won't make sense, but you can see what I've already talked about is already there. Except I haven't mentioned that our whole life is a story, basically. Everything is just a bunch of
Everything is a story, yeah.
A story, and we love telling our stories, right? And it's not so much, I love hearing a good story. Like, I love
telling a good story.
You love telling a good
and then
story.
I tell stories to teach. So.
Yeah, I think that works really well, is telling stories to teach. Yeah, it's much easier. I find the students go, yeah, just tell me a story, Terryann, and I'm like, oh, a story. But when the stories come along as a defense to why I'm like this, or why the other person's like that, or why life is like this. So you can almost see somebody come up with a story, and then that triggers another story and another story and another story.
Yeah. More justifications, more defenses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll justify the stories, right?
Mm.
Are you guys following? Is anything
I hope
making
so. I hope this is making sense. I was just looking at the time. I think this is good. I could sit here talking all day.
Yeah, but in case somebody has a question.
Yeah. If you've got a question, pop in. I was going to say, so if next time we start off with writing a list of reaction and overreaction, is there anything else anybody could do between now and the next webinar? Could we get people noticing where they overreact, or
even paradoxes? With some questions that you'd like to ask, you can send them to us. I think
you could drop me an email.
But for you to do, one of the most marvelous things to do is just make lists about what you think something means, right? Like, if you come upon something that causes a struggle, make a list.
Yeah.
One of the things, I made a list for about a week on fat and thin. It was so interesting. So I did fat, and then, fat is gross, and then thin is beautiful, and I just kept doing this. And it was so interesting. After about, 5 or 6 days, I came upon the list and had all these negative things under fat, all these wonderful, beautiful things under thin. And I walked by the list and I went, something's happening to me.
Yeah.
And I saw fat is comforting.
Ooh.
Oh, and then the other side was thin is bitchy. Oh, that was a turning point for me to really realize how I had seen, and of course you see it in positive and negative, but it lets you see your mind that you think only positive things about one idea. So negative
identity. Yeah.
So an easy one, let's say, is war and peace. So we usually think war is bad and peace is good. But I mean, if you really explore it, you start to see, well, no, neither of them are good or bad. I think you all get that, right? That's probably simplistic.
Yeah. Well, it depends.
It depends.
I mean, it depends where your brain's at, whether you'd get that.
Okay.
I don't think that's obvious. Yeah.
Well, so many people have told me, oh, if we just had world peace, and everyone was all happy. Well, yeah, but who's going to dictate what peace is?
Yeah. Let's have a war on that.
Yes. And we do. Right? We do. Right? Which religion are we going to follow? Yeah. Right? So immediately, religions disagree. Music. I used to think, well, what music are we going to play in this new peaceful world, right?
Yeah, no heavy metal.
Yeah, right. For me, it would be AC/DC, right? And for, my spiritual friends that I used to hang out with, it was Enya. And I was like, if I hear Enya again, that's good or bad, but it was just so annoying. Listening to her, I never want to listen to her again. Like, never.
Yeah. This is the
In
comedy, isn't it?
listening to, all this kind of music. Some of the most, I find the most aggressive people are, New Agers. I've
Yeah.
never met such aggressive people. When somebody has a really strong belief system about peace, they become extremely aggressive. It's amazing.
Bonkers.
Bonkers. Yeah, it flabbergasts me all the time. It's like, yeah, but you're walking around with your hippie beads and your peace signs and why are you yelling so much and why are you so aggravated? Why can't you just have a talk? Why do you have to
Yeah.
get so excited about things? Well, yeah, interesting. Because I have really strong limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
So exploring what you think is good or bad and realizing Shakespeare was pretty, on it. There's nothing good or bad, only thinking it makes it so. I
Yeah.
mean, he got it, man. He pinned that down, right?
Mm.
He really pinned it down. He really got it. What a phenomenal mind, right? It's only
Yeah.
when he wants
Amazing.
to tell me if something is good or bad. Otherwise, it's moot. Just it's going to depend on the situation, right? Like, is murder good or bad? Well, generally we say it's bad, but we know that if somebody's going to come
Stealing your
after
child.
me with a knife, I might kill them, and in that case, murder is self-defense, and yeah, I'm pretty okay with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be okay with it, but
Well.
you get what I mean. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm happy to hurt anyone, but there would be no happiness there. But in that moment, you're not going to sit around going, you know, hurting someone is bad. It's really, well, which thing is going to get hurt?
Yeah.
Your child or this other person who's coming to attack you? It's pretty bad, but or you choose to do nothing, which is neither good or bad either. It's all going to depend on one's perspective. So that's something to really look at when you're in the middle of an argument with your husband, boyfriend, sister, brother, parents. When you start to notice you're pushing your own agenda, take a peek at your agenda and make a list about it. What is my agenda?
Yeah.
My agenda is I want my parents to understand me. I want my husband to understand me. My God, that's like an insanity in itself when most of us don't even understand ourselves.
Yeah. And we change our minds all the time.
Yeah. So that's huge. Just taking a
Yeah.
peek at,
Write some lists.
yeah, find yourself being a hypocrite. That's the most interesting is, oh my God, I was just a hypocrite. And I've been honest with all of you and given you my hypocrisies. And I just did it the other day with my mother. I told her to do something I was doing. It's like, oh, you hypocrites, right? It's really healing to
Yeah.
stop and go, okay, what am I doing now?
Yeah.
What's going on? And it helps unravel the knots and the ties that bind you to a thought. I mean, we could talk about this for a bit.
For days.
In the next one after is,
Yeah.
how in heaven's name do we believe a thought?
Yeah.
Over ourselves. We often believe thoughts over ourselves.
Like they're God.
Ideas, beliefs, all that, all of that. How many times people have lived with. Also, what is your religion? And I don't mean Catholicism, Judaism, Buddhism. I mean, what is your religion? I know when I first started BreakThrough, I made it a religion. Now it's not. I love it. I think it's great, but it's not a religion. And it's not necessary. Well, I think every single person on the planet would benefit from it, but I am not going to make people do it. I don't even say to you, oh, maybe you need a breakthrough. If somebody says to me, I'm having trouble, I'm triggered all the time, say, well, I can help you, give me a call.
Yeah.
I don't do much more than that. They have to pick up the ball. That kind of goes back to what you said, Jenny, right? It's what you were saying earlier about wanting to help people, but they need
Oh
to help.
yeah, but they need to help
Sure.
themselves. Yeah.
I'd like to help people, but they have to help themselves. So you want my help, I'm right here. But you need to, that's the responsibility piece. You need to take responsibility, pick up the phone or write down the email and call the person and get started. Do the work.
Yeah.
I've had people dip into work and out of work, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's breakthrough, body talk, Reiki, anything. And they'll dip in and out. And they will always dip in and out till they decide they don't want to dip in and out of something. And, over the years, I decided I'm not interested in those people. So I don't attract them anymore. So
Only people that want to do the work.
Only people who want to do the work. There's no point in bringing anyone who's not, who does not want to take a peek within their little box of garbage up here.
Yeah. Why would you not want to?
Well, because people think it's very important.
It's so fun to explore ourselves.
It is, but people who take their thoughts really seriously and their identity really seriously do not want anyone to tell them they are not that thing.
Oh, don't attack my identity.
People who want to do the work have realized they aren't the thing they thought they are, or nor are they the thing that other people tell them they are. And they don't want to be it. They want to be free. So usually it's people who want to be free or they're desperate. That's usually, that's why I've been doing this work, is out of desperation. Absolutely desperate to do it. Esther, who founded BreakThrough, she will say, I did this work, have been doing this work out of desperation. That's how I came to it.
That's so freeing.
It really is. It just takes you from a desperate situation to freedom. And it's all about your identities, your beliefs. They're all conditioned, right? So much of it's conditioned. This isn't about, brain damage. This is about actual, brains that are in the world and acting as though they're brain damaged. I was one of them.
No. We'll have an AA meeting.
Or a breakthrough.
A breakthrough, anonymous.
All right. Well, I've lost my voice, and
that's fine. I was going to wrap up.
Try this again, and I'd love to have you guys on again. I know you didn't get to talk, but next time I think we should make this an open forum.
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing a test drive here. So next time we'll make it an open forum, and for those who want to mute themselves, that's fine. Or mute and come on. It'll be nice if we have you hear your voices. And
we'll do that next time. Yeah,
I'd really like to hear your voices. It's very bizarre just reading names and talking to
and especially people called iPhone, whoever you are. Hello.
Whoever you are, iPhone. Yes, that was.
That's a great name.
iPhone. That's a new name.
Maybe people will start calling their kids iPhone. I don't know. It's funny. Anyway, hello. So our next webinar date is Wednesday, the 18th of March. So it's going to be the same time, 8 o'clock in the UK. So if you want to hop on again, and we'll have a little bit more interaction next time. You should know what to expect by then. So, you can come on and ask questions. And then we have a third one on Wednesday, the 15th of April. So please, please, please share these sessions with people. I'm going to get the recording out so you can share that with everybody along with the invite to the sessions. So that'd be great.
And I think Eugenie has do you have a question, Eugenie? Eugenie? Est-ce que vous avez
if you've got questions before the next meeting, by all means, you can email them to me. So if you've got things that you want to put in the room anonymously or things that you want to talk about, because obviously anything shared in these sessions will go out in the ether on the interweb. So if you want to ask questions or send things to me, info@eloiseanswood.com, you can and we'll include it. And so if you want to write some lists, we'd love to see some of those. You could send those in advance if you like. And we've got a few things to discuss next time. So for those of you interested in the breakthrough class, for the wonderful Terryann comes over this side of the pond, we are running the class on the 13th and 14th of June 2020. So we've got an introductory talk for 2 hours on the Friday evening on the 12th, and then we're doing a practical day on the Monday the 15th as well. So,
and I promise you, no matter how strange this all looks to you, you will love it. I've had like maybe 5 students who didn't like it.
Out of
course, I triggered them.
Yeah, and they come back 10 years later and go.
It probably will trigger you because I don't control my behavior, but ultimately, it's all about being compassionate for what's going on. But that still could happen. But in all the years I've done this work, even people who were so ambivalent taking this class, they just turn around and said, I don't understand how anyone could miss this class. This should be a prerequisite to life. And I can't tell you from all over the world, all different angles, that I hear this same comment. It is a strange comment. You think you'd hear it once, but you hear it all the time. This should be a prerequisite to life. This should be a prerequisite to having kids. This should be a prerequisite to becoming a teenager. It just goes on and on. So it is really fundamentally work that everyone needs to do.
Yeah.
And it's really designed for us Westerners, right? So it's not just an Anana yoga of the East and the way they did it. It's very much for the Western person, right? Which is a lot of the world right now, but yeah, it is for the Western mind. So fascinating work. Esther would be upset with me, but I just think she's a genius. I really think she's. Some days
this work is genius.
I look at it every day. Obviously, I do this every day since 2005. Sorry, and sometimes I forget because it's just a habit. I do it so often, and I forget. And sometimes I sit down and somebody's a little bit stuck, and I look at the technique and I find a different way of posing it or changing it. And I think, how did we get here? How did she do this? Incredible. Like just every little step has something to offer. And it's not difficult to learn the steps. Believe me, it's not difficult at all. You take 20 minutes of study time and you've learned the steps. What's hard is coming up with questions, and of course you need to do the work for yourself to really become good at it. That's basically what I'll tell you this time, but you'll love it. You will. And I have to say, every time we run this class, I join in, but I'm normally sat at the back of the room, and I just sit there and my heart just expands because people need this work. I was saying the other day, if I could pay for every single one of my clients and friends to come, I would. It's just like, it's not forcing it on them, but go, hey, come, because it's fundamental. It's brilliant. It's fundamental. Well, that's why it's the life sciences, right?
Yeah.
Being a body talk practitioner, we need to be doing it. And I'm still shocked when I hear that body talkers haven't done it. It shocks me. Any practitioner.
Any therapist.
For themselves. You don't need to do this, go out and practice it on others. It's not designed for that. It's designed to do your own work. A lot of people that's an amazing thing, is the hypocrisy when somebody's going out doing the work, but they haven't done their own work. It's like, what?
Yeah.
How can you be doing your own work? That's always strange.
Yeah.
Hi, iPhone.
Hi, iPhone's back, or another iPhone. I don't know.
I
love the names when it pops up with comedy. So if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. We had a discounted price for the first 10 people to sign up and register for Breakthrough in June 2020. But we're offering a discount of £100 for the first 10 people. The thing is, we've nearly filled those 10 spots. So what we're going to offer is people that have taken this webinar, if you want to email me and go, I was on the webinar, between now and the second webinar on the 18th of March, if you send us a deposit, we will hold the discounted rate for you, because we love you for coming on. And we wanted to do something special for everybody joining in on the webinar. So drop me an email if you want to make sure you're getting the discounted rate, because we'd love to, you know, if money is an issue, it'll just help you along to get to the class. But I hope you can join us for the next webinar on the 18th of March. Lovely to have you there. Thank you so much, Terryann. It's been so much fun tonight. I could talk to you for hours, but we do most weeks. I'm lucky.
Well, next time we'll get everybody on so they could.
Yeah, we'll have a bit more interaction next time. So.
All right. Lots of love and ciao, ciao.
Yay. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
For your questions and support.
Yeah. Drop me an email with any questions. And hang on, I'll put my email in the chat, but you've probably got it already as we say goodbye to Terryann. Thank you so much, darling. And thank you to all of you, and I will catch up with you soon. Please share this with anyone who you think would be interested, and we'll see you on the 18th of March. Bye.